Thank you so much for tuning into Journey with Christian D. Evans podcast. My name is Christian D. Evans, your host. And guys, we have someone so honorable. I'm so excited to have this guy on as our guest because he is just a high performing entrepreneur. Specifically, we're going to be diving into the health industry today because, health coaches, wellness coaches, chiropractors, holistic coaches, dietitians, naturopathic business owners, guys, you guys are being, just bombarded with all sorts of stuff all the time. And you guys are struggling, right? We all know. And so we have this individual that we're going to be diving deep into talking about things that he's been able to produce and help. He actually ran a incredible seven-figure business in 2018, sold that because he saw the massive demand for this, helping other health entrepreneurs out there, really looking to grow their virtual practice. This man is a New York Times bestselling author, former professional athlete, business strategist, and the founder and CEO of Healthpreneur. He's been featured on Dr. Oz, Forbes, Money, New York Times, and so much more. He lost all of his hair at the age of 17 from an autoimmune disease, an incredible story we're going to be diving into in this episode. Now, with his company, Healthpreneur, he and his world-class team of coaches help health professionals and coaches leverage the internet to turn their expertise into high 6- and 7-figure virtual practices with this simple system that we will be talking about today. With this system, he has helped over 1,200 health entrepreneurs generate more than $100 million for their clients. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, the one and only Yuri Elkaim. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, buddy. Thanks for having me. That's quite the intro. I hope I live up to that.
Oh, you definitely will, because I'm just so excited to be sitting down with you. Now, tell me, obviously, because you've had an incredible transformative story, man, going from, where you were at to professional soccer player to losing all your hair to building an incredible 7-figure business, a brand, and now all of a sudden selling that and pivoting toward like this health entrepreneur individuals, right? Helping them really scale their virtual practice, which is awesome. So tell me like that transformational story, man.
Yeah, well, it all started out many moons ago when I was in my early 20s. I was actually working as a trainer and nutritionist, working one-on-one, 12 to 14 hours a day, very much like a lot of health professionals are experiencing, right? Like the one-to-one, grinding it out. And I just got like 7 years of doing that. I just felt burnt out. And so in 2005, I started learning about, this like thing called the internet. And I thought I was just going to kick my feet up and live the laptop lifestyle and, sell some ebooks and courses, and it was all going to be great. So in 2006, I ventured online and didn't really happen that way. So it took me a couple of years to kind of get my foothold in kind of the space, and eventually got some mentoring and coaching. I was living, just for context, I was living on poverty line income for 3 years, my first 3 years of business, because I was doing everything, like everything you'd see online, the experts and gurus talk about, all the funnels and the launches and the summits, and it was just too much. I had no direction. And I think when you have no strategy, any strategy will do. And that's pretty much what my first 3 years were. And then I finally got some guidance and coaching and mentorship, and that changed everything. And then we went on to help 500,000 customers to better health. And eventually a lot of other health professionals started asking me for advice on business. And I was like, I think this is a pretty underserved population when it comes to business and marketing. And these are skills that I had to learn in order to grow my first business. And that's kind of how Healthpreneur really started in 2016, as just from the demand of the marketplace. But going back, way back, I lost my hair when I was 17 to an autoimmune condition. That's really what got me into health in the first place, because I was fit, but I wasn't healthy. And my dream from a young age was to play professional soccer, which I was able to do in my early 20s. And then something inside of me just clicked, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that, like as the rest, the next 15, 20 years of my life. And so that's when I kind of came back and started into the one-on-one worlds before all this online stuff started. So I love, and I'm committed to helping health professionals, because first and foremost, I am one. And I've worked with so many as a patient over the years, but also as a friend and colleague and obviously coach. And I've seen how many of them have an amazing message that no one knows about, right? Because they don't know how to get their message out there. They don't know how to build the business, and to no fault of their own. I mean, they drop 6 figures to go to school, and then it's like, here's a degree, best of luck. And we're not going to show you anything about how to build your business. And I think that's just really a disservice to a lot of health professionals. And I'm on a mission to change that. We have a mission to help 1 billion people on the planet. And we feel that we can help health professionals build better businesses, specifically online, so we can collectively help more people. And that's the journey that I'm on. It's been amazing, and it continues to be even more amazing.
And that's incredible. And let's kind of dive into a little bit of like the frustration that most health entrepreneurs do, because you were on the forefront on the forefront of the visionary when COVID hit. You were already doing virtual practice, teaching, educating. You already have an incredible list of business owners, and you're the one that was like raising the flag, like, hey, we got to be doing this. And all of a sudden, COVID came, and everybody started pivoting. So you were on the forefront of that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But what do you see the main pain now, the frustration that most entrepreneurs or health entrepreneurs are facing right now that can't get that message out?
It's a few things. I think number one, we are not taught the basics of marketing, and I think there's a connotation around sales and marketing that's like slimy and salesy. I just want to serve people. I don't want to market. I don't want to sell. And I think that's a mindset issue that I had for a long time as well. So guys, if you're watching this and like, trust me, I was there for a long time and I had to work through my own stuff. And I got to the point where I said, selling is serving. Right? Like if you have something that can transform people's lives, it's your duty to learn how to get that message in front of them. It's your duty to learn how to influence and persuade them, because you're doing nothing wrong. Like we're not talking about scamming people. We're talking about the most important thing in life, which is someone's health. Like you can restore someone's health like that. That's like, you have to understand you have the keys to the kingdom. There's nothing wrong with learning how to amplify your message to get in front of your ideal clients. So I think the challenge is that number one, there's a mindset issue. And hopefully, interviews like this can help shift the way some people think. But I also think then there's just like there's a couple of things for those who are kind of brick and mortar, wondering if they can go online. There's this whole idea of like, can I do this? Right. And is brick and mortar going to be better than virtual? And the reality is like, I think we're at a stage now where COVID was a big inflection point. And what online dating was 20 years ago, when everyone was like, oh, there's no way that's going to fly. 20 years later, 25 years later, it's the number one way people meet each other. Statistically, it's the number one way that people meet their significant other, not just the fling, their significant other. And I've been raising this flag for the past 7 years now with virtual practice for health professionals, because I've seen what it's done for my life, for the number of people that I've been able to. There's no way on earth I'd be able to impact 500,000 people in a one-on-one setting. We've helped over 1,200 practitioners. They've gone on to collectively help hundreds of thousands of more people. Like, there's no way you can do that in a four-wall setting. And I'm not saying there isn't a time and place for that, but I think if you're tired of the grind, if you want more time and location freedom, you have to understand that like you have to adapt. Right? Like 88% of the Fortune 500 companies that existed in 1965 no longer exist. And they no longer exist for the same reasons Kodak, Blockbuster, they're gone as well, because they didn't adapt. And I'm not saying this is for everyone, but if you're open-minded enough to consider the fact that you can help a lot of people based on what you know, not just what you do with your hands, there's an immense opportunity. So I think really understanding that the future is going to be online, not just in health, but in everything. And there's been so much research done the last 2 years. McKinsey, which is a big consulting firm, they show there's $14.6 billion that's been injected as investment into digital healthcare since 2018. And that's a threefold increase from the previous year. So even before COVID hit, there's been a massive injection. And why would all these investors and VC firms invest all this money in digital healthcare if it wasn't the future? Statistically, 76% of patients surveyed by this McKinsey research also are preferring virtual care moving forward. And that's a big shift, because the consumer, like the actual people we are helping as the consumer, they're preferring time and convenience. They don't want to have to drive across the city. They don't want to have to sit in a waiting room. They can jump on Zoom or a phone call with their practitioner and get amazing service. So I think that's the second thing, is like, that's a big opportunity that we have to recognize. It's the elephant in the room. You can't ignore it. But I think the third piece is for those who have been online, or they've been playing with stuff and they're just not really making much headway. The challenge is like, you have to focus on one thing and do it really well. And that is so hard nowadays, because as you know, we're bombarded by so many different messages and ads on social media. Every third or fourth post is a new thing for something else. And that just creates a tremendous amount of overwhelm. And when we're overwhelmed, we're confused. And when we're confused, we're essentially paralyzed which means that we're not going to do anything because we have too much stuff potential. It's like going to a restaurant with like 100 items on the menu, right? It's like, well, what do I choose? So I think what happens, what we see a lot of is clients will come to us when they've done other things like, oh, I've done this course or I've tried that. And it's great. I mean, I think everything that you do is great. And if you take the learnings from all of it, then it's all like, you can't lose, right? Like some investments, some courses, some coaches are better than others, sure. But if you understand that your journey, like you are where you are because that's where you're supposed to be, and everything that's gotten to you here is exactly what it was, meant to be, then it's all just positive. And I think if you look at that as a positive, as opposed to, well, that thing didn't work and I got scammed, which sadly happens in some cases. But I think if you've tried a lot of different things, I get it, because I was that guy. Like, and most people come to us because they've done, again, I'm not going to name any names because I think there's a lot of amazing experts out there, but the reality is that they just don't get the high touch and the simplicity in terms of a strategy that most people need to do very well in business. And I just see entrepreneurs in general are scattered, right? We're always trying to do the next thing. So you add that with like, hey, do this yourself and hope for the best. It's just really challenging. So I think that like simplicity, that focus, as well as high touch accountability is so huge to actually succeeding.
Yeah, definitely. Before I had you on this podcast, what I noticed and just doing my research is I saw a lot of individuals that like blogging, posting content, and really nothing to show for, like nothing really producing. And also I find that a lot of healthpreneurs specifically, or health entrepreneurs, if you will, they struggle with like a consistent flow. And I know you're an expert at doing that. You've been able to help tremendous amount of clients with that regard. And again, you were on the forefront, right? You've been saying this for the last 7 years. So tell us a little bit about like your perfect client pipeline. I just find that most intriguing, and how you're able to implement a simple system to really automate that. Is that correct?
Yeah, totally. So full disclosure, my first business was largely built on content. So what I'm about to say is not just like theory, it's what I actually experienced in the trenches. So a little bit of context. My previous business, we had a payroll just for our blog of $35,000 a month. I'm talking about writers, editors, all that stuff, because we had to play the game of creating so much content to even be found in Google. I mean, like, so the reality is, if you're posting free content, if you think like free organic is the way to grow your business, it is the most expensive way to grow your business. Because what I've recognized, and it took me sadly a long time to recognize, is that time is expensive and money is cheap. And when I started to recognize, wow, it took me 10 years almost to grow my YouTube channel from 0 to more than 300,000 subscribers. It took about the same amount of time to go from no visitors on our websites to more than 1.4 million per month, plus all the money invested to make that happen. It's not like I just shot some videos and they just happened. Like, I'm talking about significant investments every month to make that all happen. So it doesn't just happen for free. And I think that's a big misconception. The challenge with I'm all in on content. Like, I think content is amazing as a long-term strategy that you don't need to rely on right away. So for instance, my YouTube channel with Healthpreneur, we started focusing on it a little bit more, I'd say about 1.5 years ago, and we've got about 2,500 subscribers. I'm fine with that, because for me, I love shooting video, but I also realize I don't need that channel to produce anything for our business, because we have our perfect client pipeline. So for me, I'm creating that channel for 10 years down the road and just adding so much value into the marketplace that that's just what I want to do. But if I had to rely on that to bring clients in now, I'd be living in a box on the sidewalk, right? Like, so that's the problem, is a lot of people are creating these like little Instagram pointy videos, or they're posting on their Facebook profile, and they're getting zero traction because the algorithms work against the newbie. If you have a significant following, and the head of content, I was watching a video the other day, the head of content at Instagram, they were asking, what do you think TikTok does better than you as a platform? And he said, we don't do a good job at highlighting and accentuating new people on Instagram. There's like, if you have a great platform, amazing. But if you're new, you're toast. And that's, I think, something everyone has faced. Like, if you're posting once a day and doing stories or not getting traction, it's exhausting. So it's like this whole like hustle and grind mentality that I'm like, it's not even a business, it's a job. You stop doing it, nothing happens, and everything kind of dries up. So the perfect client pipeline, really came about because in my other business, we had done everything under the sun, from all the funnels and like everything you can possibly think of. And I asked myself, what's like one thing that really, really moved the needle for us? And it always came back to webinars. And I was like, okay, well, what if we built a strategy or a system around that? Because it could provide some great value and, for the right people move into the next step. So that was kind of the initial thinking for the perfect client pipeline. And I wanted to create a business model that was simple, because I had the very opposite of that in my previous business. Hundreds of products, hundreds of funnels, massive amounts of complexity. I'm like, no, I want to do one thing simply and really well. So the perfect client pipeline really is it's 4 steps. And the first thing is we recognize that if we are the one manually out on the sidewalk waving the sign for people to come into the driveway, we can't build a business like that. And that's what most people are doing with the organic social media stuff. What I'm saying is you have an automated way of 24/7 putting a message in front of the right people you want to speak with and allowing that message to do all the heavy lifting. And then the right people from there will be invited to the next step. So that first piece is what we call predictable prospecting, where you have a message, which first and foremost, you have to identify a single target market. And this is a big mistake health professionals make, is they want to help everyone, right? I help you achieve optimal vitality. What does that mean, right? And so does everyone else. So you have to be the specialist. We all want to work with the specialist. If you have migraines, you're going to go to the migraine specialist, not just the GP. If it's going for knee surgery, it's going to go to the orthopedic surgeon, not your family doctor. But for some reason, we have this aversion to narrowing down because we think we're going to alienate everyone. The reality is you're going to, but the other reality is you're never going to help them in the first place, right? Because when you try to speak to everyone, no one hears you because your messaging is so diluted. So when I talk about predictable prospecting, that means you have to craft a message to a singular market. So like a single person, someone who has, I don't know, Hashimoto's or type 2 diabetes, and that's your single target market. You build your business around that. And if you're worried about going too narrow, I'll tell you this, our clients, the only reason they're able to succeed to the level they're able to is because they narrow down. You can't build a scalable business trying to help everyone. So single target market, we use predictable prospecting, which is a message. Think of it as a post that we put up on Facebook, and then we leverage Facebook advertising to amplify that message to more people. Why that's important is that if you post something on Facebook, whether it's your personal profile or your business page, Facebook has told us, I'm not making this up, that you can do the research on this. Less than 2% of your followers are going to see the post. Facebook owns Instagram. It's the same deal there. They're both pay-to-play platforms. So 3 billion users on the platforms combined. And they're saying, if you want to reach your people, you have to basically make a barter. I'll give you $20 a day. Okay, cool. I'll show your message to more people. So that's the first step, is we amplify a message on Facebook to reach the target audience that we want to reach. From that that post, we invite them to this really pillar piece of content, that webinar that I alluded to. And this is, I think, such a pivotal piece for most businesses. And this is something a lot of health professionals can do very well because they love teaching. And if it's done in a specific way, I think one of the big mistakes with webinars is people try to give away all the how-to, right? It's like, here's the protocols and here's exactly how to solve the problem. The reality, though, is you're not helping someone if you do that, because they think they're just going to take that and solve their problem by themselves. So the key with a great webinar is that you're reshaping people's beliefs around the specific topic. You're introducing your philosophy. Think of it as a documentary. You want people to really come out of that thinking, wow, that was powerful. What do I do next? And the next step is for the right people to fill out an application to speak with you. And then the last step, the fourth step, is what we call coach to close. It's a coaching conversation to assess if they're a good fit, and if you want to work with them, and if you can help them. And then you can obviously talk about on the call or on Zoom what your program would look like. And if they want in, and if you want to work with them, you basically make the offer at that point on the call. So those are the 4 steps. We have predictable prospecting, teach the sell, which is the webinar, ask and assess, which is the application, and coach to close, which is the phone conversation. That's it, right? You can build a 7-figure business just by doing that. We've had multiple clients do that already. And all of our clients follow that same process. So that's what the perfect client pipeline is all about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely does, and it's really interesting because just like you were saying with your clients that you're seeing right now, they're blogging, they're posting, they're developing content, they're pushing stuff out. They bought the marketing gimmicks and the expert advice and coaching, and to me, it sounds like you just totally brought all this together, simplified it, and just made it a very simple ABCD kind of infrastructure to be able to get the results online that they're struggling with so much. And like you said, the organic game, it works, but it's just a long play. And for the average individual, you just don't have 30, 40 G's to just throw at organic content. And a lot of people want, results, very, very simply. And so it sounds like you clarify the message, you really kind of simplify the process, and then really just automate that. And so tell me a little bit like, what kind of results, or just maybe one or two,
Sure.
I guess clients of yours that you've actually been able to implement this system and actually see incredible results in their virtual practice.
Yeah. Before I mentioned that, I just something that came to mind was I don't know if you've seen the movie 14 Peaks on Netflix, but it's really, really amazing. And it's this Nepalese Sherpa who climbed the 14 tallest mountains in the space of 6 months, as opposed to the other person who did it before in 16 years. And that's kind of what we're doing. The way I think of this is like, there's many ways to climb the mountain, but we're just going to show you the fastest way. It's not easy,
Wow.
right? But it's the simplest and fastest way. So anyways, as an example, so one of our clients, Jen, is a sugar addiction expert. She's a health coach, specializes in sugar addiction. And she had been online in some way, shape, or form and working with clients for 15 years, but it was grinding, right? She's a grinder, just by her nature, she's a grinder. And she had done okay, right? But nothing to really write home about, nothing to be like, oh my God. And so when she started working with us, it was just like a light bulb went off for her because she didn't have to do all the stuff we've been talking about. She builds her perfect client pipeline, and she gets relatively quick results here. And actually, I was just posting some stuff on Facebook the other day, ironically on my personal profile, because I like to just post some random stuff here and there, not expecting to generate business from it. But she actually commented, and she was, she's always thanking me either publicly or privately. And she's like, with your system, I was able to go from, making a couple grand a month to this past year, we did over 500,000. And this is 2021. So during COVID, okay. Over $500,000 in revenue, and they're on pace to do more than $1 million within the next 12 months. So that's one example of someone who had been around for 15 years, not just like graduated last week, but they'd been around doing this for a long time, but just didn't really have the right model. Another one of our clients, Brandy, naturopathic doctor, she knew that she wanted to get out of her practice because she was working 60 hours per week. She had a little 4-year-old at the time, barely saw him. So she's like, you know what, I'm out of here. So she left her clinic. She went on a kind of a year-long discovery to figure out what she wanted to do. And during that process, and here's the power of what we're talking about, is that she had gone on a year-long figuring things out type of journey. And she started seeing our ads on Facebook over and over again. And eventually, she pulled the trigger, booked a call with us. And within 3 months of starting with us, she had built a $27,000 per month business. And she went on to build, multiple 6-figure business within the first year. And then I'll just give you one more quick story, which I think is it's so crazy that people won't believe this. So I'll give a bit of context. So we have a client that came to us who's a chiropractor, had a chiropractic clinic, but had been doing stuff online, had worked with some of the famous people online to build out some marketing assets. Nothing really worked. End of 2019, he's got 6 people in his clinic. He's on the verge of bankruptcy. He takes out a $40,000 loan to survive and feed his family of 6. So he's got 6 team members and a family of 6. He came across, again, our ads on Facebook, because if we weren't running ads, he never would have seen our stuff. That's the power of this. So he goes through our process. He watches our webinar, and right away he's like, I need to work with these guys. So he took a portion of that loan he had taken out to survive, invested to work with us. This is the end of 2019, so November. By March 2021, so just when the pandemic was kicking off, he goes from negative 40,000 in the hole to doing more than $352,000 per month. And I share this and people are like, there's no way on earth that a chiropractor can do that online. And again, like you have to think outside the box here. And I'm not saying come online and adjust people's spines over Zoom. He had an affinity and an expertise in functional medicine as well. Now, some people might say, well, okay, that explains it. Listen, if you're a chiropractor and you don't have expertise in functional medicine, we have chiropractors that are helping people with back pain, neck pain, different protocols in a more self-directed fashion with their accountability and coaching virtually. So I don't want to make excuses here. So anyways, so they're doing that level of revenue in March. By July, they've now crossed $1.5 million per month. 6 weeks ago, so whenever I can't even remember. So I'd say toward the end of 2021, they were just crossing $5 million per month, enrolling 1,200 clients per month, helping them with Hashimoto's. And again, we're helping our clients with premium price programs. So we're not saying $50 an hour, and they're just, it's not even about, and some people see this and like, oh, they're like scamming people and gouging people. It's not about that. It's, you're making money in the service of others, not at the expense of them. And the thing that I recognized a long time ago is that if you're not making enough money, you're not making enough impact. We all are in this health industry to impact and transform lives. And if you can't even fill up your cup, then you're not taking care of enough people. And there's nothing wrong with charging what you deserve to charge. So I share this as an example of what some of our clients have been able to do, but we've helped clients from all walks of the health spectrum, from chiropractors to naturopaths, to health coaches, to dietitians, to yoga therapists in some cases. And what I'll say is that it's less about the letters behind their name, and it's more about what they have going on up here. And when I say what they have going on up here is, number one, if you're amazing at what you do, if you have that confidence of like, I know how to help solve this problem, that's number one. Number two is there's got to be a desire to want to do something relatively big. If you want to just cover the bills, don't even go into business for yourself. In general, it's just too challenging, right? So you have to have a big vision, not $5 million a month necessarily, like whatever that vision is for you, but something that's like, it's got to really compel you to move forward. And then the third thing is like rugged stubbornness / persistence. Like the only reason, and I tell my clients, like the only reason that I'm here is because I didn't give up. That's it. If you play the game long enough, that's how you win the game. There's no finish line. Like business is a marathon that never ends. And so if you fall in love with the process, if you enjoy the journey, you never want to stop. And that's really why, I'm one of the few people in the health space who's been around for almost 17 years now. And very few people can say that. And that's why I have a very good track record and a very good reputation. And I wouldn't be around here if I was doing anything shady. Like you can't exist in business for that long, like with no crazy scam reviews and stuff online if you're not doing good stuff. So I think those are a few traits that we've noticed and a couple examples of clients who exhibit those.
And that's really remarkable because, like you said, I mean, just being able to make that impact, and let's be honest, you've done very well for yourself financially and for your family. You really don't need to do it anymore. But coming back to your own vision, what drives you? What keeps you going up and being on the front end and saying, hey, for the last 7 years, you're planting your flag and say this is happening, and now all of a sudden people are scratching their head and going, hey, it's happening, and now all of a sudden it's happening, right? And so the thing is, like, what drives you, man? What just keeps you going?
First and foremost, I love the challenge. Like if I'm being very honest and selfish about this, I love the challenge of growth. So when we hit new ceilings and I'm like, oh my God, I could just like, why are we doing this? I like the challenge of figuring new things out. And I think that if we can solve bigger problems, that's how we're rewarded at a bigger level. Like Elon Musk is solving some pretty big problems, right? As an example. So I think for most entrepreneurs I think a lot of us are growth oriented, that desire to grow is very important. And I never want to retire. Like I have zero interest in just kicking my feet up and living on the beach, like maybe for a day. And then I'm like, okay, how do I add value? How do I contribute? How do I grow? And I love the game. It's challenging. I lose sleep some days. But I love all that. Like I love like thinking about stuff at 3 a.m. that like spurs me out of bed, and the obsession that comes with the ups and downs and trying to figure things out. So from a selfish perspective, I really, really enjoy that. From a more altruistic perspective, which is really the bigger reason, is that I truly care about helping people get out of their own way and become the best versions of themselves. And, we're on a mission to help 1 billion people on the planet. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I know we're going to do it. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know we're going to do it. And part of that is by helping. I firmly believe that business is an incredible catalyst. I mean, all the jobs in this world are created by entrepreneurs, right? Hiring people, creating those opportunities. So if we can help other health businesses improve what they're doing, help more people, they can hire more coaches, they can help more people, they can help more clients, and collectively everyone wins. So that's really, again, like what I love about health professionals in general is that we've all been through some health challenge. I lost my hair. Some people went through some weight issues. Other people had eating disorders. And at the end of all of this, I think at the foundation, it's about helping end suffering. So I want to fundamentally help people end their suffering with health. Is that ever going to happen? No. But if I can make a dent in some way, shape, or form, that's really meaningful to me. And at the same time, I want to help a lot of health entrepreneurs limit the suffering unnecessarily in their business. And when I say unnecessarily, I mean, you don't have to spend 7 months climbing Everest, right? We can show you how to get there a lot faster, but I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm telling you it's going to be hard, but it's going to be hard either way. So it's really just helping them get through that with a better vehicle, with a little bit more seamlessness and support and structure and less overwhelming confusion. And I really I love seeing people grow. And it's not just the business, it's the personal growth. And that's really big for me, is helping people become the best version of themselves and really do work that they find a tremendous amount of meaning in, right? It's not just about the money. Like I talk about our client, Ryan, who's doing $5 million a month. It's not about the money for him. When we talk, I'm like, hey man, like what's exciting? He's like, dude, we started this charity and we put in so much money here. And like, these are things he would not have been able to do a year and a half ago. He was on the brink of like not even surviving. And that's what this allows you to do, is like you fill up your cup, you're able to help more people. And that's really what drives me. It's just like really helping people out of, suffering into thriving, helping them become the best versions of themselves. And for now, it just happens to be using their business as a vehicle to get there. And it's just, that's what drives me.
100%, man. I love it. I love it. I just appreciate you being on our podcast and being able to share your story and obviously where you're going and the vision that you're able to make an impact in these people's lives at a very high level. And now let me ask you, because what I love about people like yourself is that you've gone there before. You've already went through all the pitfalls and fell through all the holes and all the crap. And so you've been able to implement a system that helps people like your, a few of your clients to really expedite that process. And so my curiosity is, for those that are listening to our podcast, where can they reach out to you, maybe even implement that process for themselves and actually, get to that destination, a lot faster with your system implemented?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, listen, we got a lot of free resources. If you follow my stuff on YouTube, just type in healthpreneur, you'll find my videos. But if you're someone who's like, man, this is making sense, let me just have a chat with them to see if this, would resonate with my business. We'll have a link somewhere around here that I'd invite you guys to book in a call with our team. We call it a practice growth session. And it's really a conversation about, where are you? Where do you want to go? We'll have a look at what you're currently doing, what's working, what isn't. And like, based on where you want to go, we can look at like, is this going to make sense for you? Like, does the perfect client make sense? Does the perfect client pipeline make sense for the type of business you want to run? Again, we're going to assess if you're a good fit for us to work with and vice versa, right? We want to make sure that it's a mutual fit. We're never like, I could care less about people's money. I'm not in the business of taking people's money. I'm in the business of helping people achieve results. And, if this is resonating with you and you'd like to have a conversation with us about, what that could look like for your business, then again, I'm sure we can provide a link somehow for those of you who are interested to take the next step with one of our team members to have that conversation.
Definitely. And guys, for those that are listening right now, again, just a foot stomp on what he was saying. Most of us are going out there and blogging, posting. We all bought courses before. We all bought Facebook management stuff, right? And nothing to show for except credit card bills and maybe an angry spouse or maybe sleepless nights. And there's that frustration, right? And so the biggest thing is, obviously, I think there's a link around here somewhere. Go ahead and click on all that. The links will be in the description below as well, guys. And Yuri, before we let you go, again, we really appreciate you being on. Is there any last words words of wisdom you want to share with our audience?
I'll just share one last thing, I guess, when it comes to mindset, because I do think mindset is really most of the battle here. It's don't let fear hold you back from the service you're intended to create in this world. There's a lot of people that need your help. And I think a lot of times we get in our own way out of the unknown. We're not sure how this is going to look or is it going to work out? Nothing is certain in life, right? If you get pregnant, you don't know what the baby's going to look like. You don't know if they're going to be healthy. When you cross the road, you have faith that the rules of the road will apply so someone doesn't, run you over. And I think it's the same thing with business is if you feel whatever it is you want to do, like if you feel in your core that you are called to do that, you have to do it. And yes, fear and that anxiousness is totally normal, but it's sad when I see people let that hold them back. And I'll just share one really quick story before we finish off. So Ryan, the client I was telling you about, who's doing $5 million a month. So in 2019, that summer, we actually hosted a live workshop. And at that live workshop, which was 2 days, we kind of mapped out the perfect client pipeline to those in the room. We had a gentleman in attendance who was also a chiropractor. And he was, had done some stuff online, very similar path to what Ryan had gone through. He was in a slightly better position with his practice, wasn't on the verge of bankruptcy. And from that workshop, we gave him the opportunity to take the next step with us. And he said, okay, let me get my ducks in a row. Let me kind of figure a couple things out. So, nothing happened and it kind of just went on his way. And a year and a half later, so this is now end of 2020, we hosted our annual event, Healthpreneur Live. We did it virtually. And Ryan was one of the speakers because of the success he enjoyed. And right after the event, I got an email from that other chiropractor who had been at the workshop a year and a half ago. And he said, dude, I just heard Ryan's talk. And if you can show me how he did what he did, I'm in. And I responded, I did show you what he did a year and a half ago. The difference is that you were waiting to get your ducks in a row, or you were afraid to move forward, where he just did it. And the difference, it speaks for itself. So I get, when I see stuff like that, it really breaks my heart because I'm like, man, not just the money that they've lost or that he would have made, basically lost out on, but he's still where he was 2 years ago now, right? And I don't want that to be the case for anyone watching. So if it's something if whether it's this or anything else, just follow your heart, move through the fear, have the courage to pursue your dreams, because there's so many people out there that need your help. And I think it's a disservice to them if we get in our own way. So just go forward, get the right people that can support you and encourage you, and just make it happen, right? Have the courage, dream big, and just take action every day.
And that sounds like to me, you are the man for the job. Yuri, again, I really appreciate you being on. Yuri Elkaim. Until next time, guys, tune in with the Yuri Elkaim.
Thanks so much, guys.